Most of the road is already this way, and staff thinks that it's functioned appropriately for however many years. So, with that, we are recommending approval of the plat and approval of both variances with the following conditions of approval and notes. The conditions being that they provide their tax certificate, that they either dedicate the incremental half of right-of-way or receive a variance, and that they submit plans for additional paving or receive a variance. The notes are that this is an ETJ, so addressing is done through the Council of Governments, and that a new approach to Great Creek Road will be required unless the plat is submitted with a shared access easement between Lot 1 and 2. If you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions for staff? All right.
Thank you.
Open public comment.
Good morning. Thank you for hearing our case this morning. I'm Jack Downing with SKG Engineering. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those for you.
Thank you, sir. There's no more public comment. I'll go ahead and close and open it up for discussion or a motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second. All right, got a motion and a second to approve as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
4-0. All right, next subdivision plat is FP 2413. Los Lomas Edition. A request to final plat one lot with a size of 1 acre located at 7698 South Country Club Road in Ranch and Estate zoning for the development of a single-family home.
Thank you, Austin Replanner. This is a final plat for one lot. We're not long off of Lake Nasworthy here. This is R&E zoning. At some point during the review process, it was determined that this lot does not actually meet the minimum width requirements for Ranch and Estate. So we reached out to the applicant, and I think we're expecting them to request a 30-day waiver during the public comment section. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Have any questions for Austin? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead and open up for public comment.
Erica Wilde Engineering and Surveying. Yes, we are requesting a 30-day waiver so that we can go through the zoning stipulations to get a variance for the lot width. So.
Okay. Go ahead and close public comment. Take a motion.
So the request is to, what is the request?
We need to take a motion to approve the applicant's request to waive.
Yes.
For a waiver?
Normally, you have to approve the plat within 30 days, but in the statute, there's a 30-day extension, but it has to be requested by the applicant, and then this body needs to approve that request.
We have a motion to approve the waiver request.
Motion.
I make a motion to approve the waiver request.
Second.
All right. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
So that's just for 30 days, correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We'll bring that back next month.
All right.
Chairman, and I think staff probably already alerted you to that on section C, number 4, we did receive a withdrawal request on Friday. I don't know if we have any audience members that are sitting here waiting for that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, which one was it?
It's a short-term rental conditional use.
C, number 4, CU 24-19.
We can go ahead and bounce down to that one and see if there's any.
I'm just not sure if there's any audience members waiting in the audience for that one. I didn't want them to have to sit through it and then us say that one's been withdrawn.
Is anyone in the audience here for short-term rental request on 4041 Townview? So the applicant has withdrawn their request, so we will not hear that one today.
Okay.
So save you a little time and get back to the office. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, so we'll keep moving in order, going on to rezonings and comprehensive plan amendments. City Council has final authority for approval of rezonings and amendments to the comprehensive plan. First case is PD 2402, Concho Development Rezoning, SMD number 1. This item was tabled on May 20th, 2024 meeting, a request for approval of a zone change from light manufacturing and RS1, single-family residential, to a PD plan development with a base zoning of CG, general commercial, to allow a self-storage facility located at preliminary address of 3510 Christoval Road.
Good morning, Ray Lineberry, planner. And before I say this one, the applicant has requested to withdraw. So this one is also being withdrawn.
Okay. We don't need to take any action on that, right? Okay. So, moving on, conditional uses. The planning commission has final authority for approval and conditional uses. Appeals may be directed to city council. First case is CU 2415 at 802 Baker Street, SMD 3, a request for a conditional use to allow short-term rental in single-family residential RS1 district.
Good morning, Ray Lineberry. This short-term rental request is for 802 Baker Street. It is in District 3, Harry Thomas, Fort Concho neighborhood, RS1 zoning. The safety inspection was passed. This is the map of the neighborhood. As you can see, the yellow star represents where they're at. There are 3 that are current and operating, and then there's 1 that is expired. We mailed out 13 notices. We received 1 in favor, 1 in opposition. The 1 in opposition just didn't want an STR near it. So staff is recommending approval as long as they maintain the 2 paved off-street parking. They report and remit hotel tax monthly and maintain the current contact information of the designated operator. We did put a note on this project that they are in the river corridor, so any external changes will need to be approved by the DHRC board. With that, is there any questions?
Anybody have any questions for staff?
And the ones that are active, are they within that 500 feet, I'm assuming?
They are outside of that 500 feet? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Any more questions for Ray? Okay. Go ahead and open up public comment.
Good morning, Sarah McDonald on behalf of the owner for 802 Baker. I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Good. Thank you.
No more public comment. I'll go ahead and close public comment and open up for discussion or a motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Sorry, there was a gentleman that was.
Yeah, I have horrible hearing, and y'all talked briefly about Concho, and then what did y'all do on it?
The applicant withdrew the application. They're no longer doing the project. They're on the Concho development. Yes, sir, they withdrew their application.
So they're doing a new application?
At this time, we do not have an active application from them. So
Can I say something about I own the land adjacent to it and at the other end of it, and then I own the drainage ditch all the way to.
Yes, sir.
Since we didn't hear that case because they withdrew, I think it'd be inappropriate to take public comment on it.
Okay. Yeah, yes, sir. There's no application to do anything with that property in this meeting. They withdrew their application. So we're not taking any action on it.
You're not, what's he saying?
There's no application, so they're not hearing any public comment on it, and they're not taking any action.
Okay.
There's nothing happening with that property.
All right, I was just making the city aware that I own the drainage ditch from the property all the way to Christopher Road. So I just want to make sure that they understand. Okay,
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Ayler.
All right, so I think we've approved 802 Baker, 4-0, correct?
We did.
Okay, let's move on. So this is the second conditional use, it's CU 2417, 5945 Terran Street, SMD number 1, a request for conditional use to allow short-term rental in a single-family residential RS1 district.
Good morning, Ray Lineberry again. This is our second short-term rental at 5945 Terran Street. District 1, Tommy Hebert, Country Club neighborhood. It is RS1 zoning, and they did pass their safety inspection. This is the neighborhood. There is only 2. It is the one, the yellow star is the current application. The green is legally operating, is good and current. There were 24 notices mailed out. We received 2 in opposition, 0 in favor. One of the opposition didn't have a comment. The other one, again, did not want an STR near it. Property value would go down, was their concerns. So staff is,
I was going to say, just a comment on that plat, just for anyone that's watching, all of those lots actually have homes on them, so.
yes.
It's not just blank applicants mailing stuff in, so, thank you.
So staff is recommending approval with the conditions that they maintain the paved parking, they report and remit hotel tax monthly, and they maintain their current contact information for the designated operator. With that, is there any questions?
I have a couple of questions, just for clarification. So, one, I guess, was this applied for under the previous ordinance?
These all were applied for before the previous ordinance became effective, yes.
Okay. And what is the maximum occupancy that's allowed under the previous or current ordinance?
Was it 6, I believe?
Is it 2 per room?
Yeah, 2, it is 2 adults per room.
Was there a total number of occupants, though? Okay. I can't remember. It seemed like there was 6.
Yeah, under the old ordinance, there was an occupancy limit, and I can try and find that.
That was 2 adults per bedroom.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
right.
Do we know what the occupancy of that house is, or what it would be, I guess, under that?
I think that was a 3-bed with an office, I believe.
I just noticed there was like 6 trash cans. Kind of made me wonder.
Thought so too.
I didn't see that.
Just kind of curious.
Yeah, so under the old standard, it was no more than 2 people per bedroom.
But there's no max.
Well, if there's 4 bedroom, it could be 8 people.
Yeah, so I guess it's based on the bedroom. I mean, there was a separate like outdoor gathering provision that limited it to no more than 20 people during certain hours.
There is, in the city ordinance, there is a 6 people non-blood related.
Non-related.
Non-blood related. Because that used to be in the old one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I just kind of triggered a question. So, anybody else have any questions for Ray? Okay. We'll go ahead and open up public comment. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Steve Martinez, my wife Tessa.
If you could state your address and single member district.
5946 Merrick, we're directly behind the house.
Okay, thank you.
After receiving this, we're against it, just because we live behind there. We don't know what kind of people, parties, anything like that, right behind there. I know there's an ordinance at a certain time, but will they obey it? So we're just...
They have a swimming pool in the back, which is great, but
the owners that currently have it, they drain it quite a bit. And we've had renters there, I guess, the last year, so maybe 6 months, and they don't keep up with it. So I'm concerned that people that come will either not, will be upset because it's not full, or if it is, and we have parties. But the people that have, the last renters we had, they called us at work because they had a repairman go and look at the pool. Something's wrong with the pool. Anyways, and they had to check on our side to see if there was any kind of leakage. The person that they had called was not a certified swim pool person. It was just some handyman. So of course they didn't find anything. So I guess our concern is just the upkeep of it is not great. So with the Airbnb, this, I'm not sure if it would be any better. And like you said, there's a lot of trash cans and there's always a lot of cars there. It doesn't matter who lives there. So that's our concern.
Yeah, so our 2 cents, we don't want it.
Sure. So in previous meetings, we've discussed, benefits of short-term rentals versus long-term rentals. With a short-term rental, in order for an owner-occupant to actually obtain rentals, they've got to keep a very high control of maintenance on the property. So the lawn's going to be mowed, trash will be picked up, all of those things. You will also have access to the contact information of the owner of the property. Unfortunately, sometimes when you get longer-term tenants in there, you don't have the same control of a property as an owner as you do in the short-term standpoint. So I believe that in short-term rentals, the property is actually kept considerably better because the owner is the one that's maintaining it, not the tenant.
Right.
So if that gives you any peace of mind.
I'd add on to Brittany's comments there, just to say that was kind of our, at least I think it's a general consensus was our thought process on trying to work through the ordinance for short-term rentals was to put more controls in place and to have more regulations in place and to give the neighbors more access and control over what goes on at that property.
Okay.
And so, in a lot of ways, I think you do have a lot more say or protection, regulatory protection, as opposed to a longer-term rental. That's been kind of our thought process on trying to work through that ordinance.
And the last bit is if you do have issues, you now have the right to call, and complain. And if there's too many complaints, then the next time they try to renew it, they won't be approved.
That's right.
So
And how
that
long is that?
I'm sorry?
How long is the rent, before they renew
Each year.
again? Each year?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we would have it for a year if they did that. Okay.
That's right.
Good to know. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any more public comment? Not hearing any, I'll close public comment and open it up for discussion or a motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
So we got a motion from Brittany and a second from Trinidad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. All right. Third conditional use is CU 2418, 607 Childers Street, SMD number 2, a request for a conditional use to allow a short-term rental in a single-family RS1 district.
Ray Lineberry, planner again. This is 607 Childers Street, requesting a short-term rental. It's District 2, Tom Thompson, Bluffs neighborhood in the RS1 zoning, and they did pass their safety inspection. I know the report said they had not as of yet, but they did. They got it done. This is the map of the Bluffs neighborhood. They are this yellow star up here. The reason for the second yellow star, the reason for the second yellow star was because of the next case that was withdrawn. So disregard that yellow star. But there are 3 currently operating legally, and there is one that is expired there off to the left. So 15 notices were mailed out. We received 0 in favor and 1 in opposition. The 1 in opposition didn't really say anything. It was just marked on the paper. So staff is recommending approval as long as they maintain their parking, report and remit hotel tax monthly, and maintain their current contact information for the designated operator. With that, is there any questions?
Can we go back to the photo with the stars? Yes, that one. The two green that are together. My concern is the 500 foot.
I double checked because I figured you'd ask. They are 547 feet apart.
Okay, okay, so they are apart. I wasn't worried about it being close to the yellow, but it dawned on me we were putting it pretty close. But
Yes.
thank you for checking.
All right. Thank you, Ray. I'll go ahead and open up public comment. There's no public comment on 607 Childers Street, then I'll go ahead and close.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. So that does it for conditional uses. Trinidad, I think we're gonna get you out of here before your doctor's appointment, possibly. Flying through. I feel like I need to talk more. Just stretch this out. Okay, so that'll move us down to discussion items and direction requests from staff. Our first topic is the discussion of the cultural district expansion.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sherry Bailey, Principal Planner. Wanted to bring this before you. We're in the process of looking at expanding the cultural district. This is the original map that we came up with the 12 actual distinct but similar districts within that very small area. It is south of the river. It has the cultural district that you are familiar with in it, and then we've expanded it out because looking at the neighborhoods and the development that has occurred out there, we have some real concerns about losing some of the cultural background and history of this community. If you walk through the area or drive through the area, you'll cover a multitude of types of homes or types of and stages of commercial development, a lot of mixture of ethnic types, and a real flavor within each one of those districts. And again, we're concerned about it. We started off with this 12. We do have a working committee that has 15 members, of which I believe Travis and Luke were asked to join you, just haven't had a chance yet. The first meeting went through it. They've narrowed it down. Let me go back for a second. They narrowed it down by pulling out District 1 and 2, which is strictly homes in that area. They want to save that for a second move forward. And they cut the District 12, where the conference center is and some of the other area along the river, kept that, but again, pulled out the residential in this one. So they've made it smaller because of a number of items. They felt that what was left was the area that they were most concerned about and needed to move forward on. So these were the names that we ended up giving them, and they loosely represent what each one of the district is, either the general type of housing or the type of commercial that's in that area. One of the biggest reasons that we are concerned about it is because of that patchwork area, and I think I talked about that before, that one lot may be zoned one thing, another lot something else, and the impact of that on the area has been significant, and we're looking with the cultural overlay to be able to address some of the issues that are brought about by that myriad number of different kinds of zoning and kind of bring it together in a more or less cohesive approach to the cultural district. As I said, the committee has decided to split it into 2 phases, so you will see phase 1 coming forward, which is about that area with that small section of where the conference center and those are, and then we'll come back, hopefully, with the second. That basically is the update on the cultural district. We're hoping to move it forward very quickly. There is some concern about development that's starting to occur in that area and people moving in with different types of uses and addressing some of the structures and removing some of them. So there's a real push to move forward on that. Are there any questions?
When you say business, is it businesses that are kind of coming in, and I hate to use the word like encroach, but they're coming in and...
Some of it is a business movement in there. Some of it is, there's been some revitalization that has occurred, particularly on Chudrington Oaks, and there's a real concern along that area that we need to get a few more standards in place as that area develops, yes.
And Trinidad, I would add that it's also an opportunity for us to look at that area and look for opportunities. How can we encourage growth in that area, whether it's commercial, residential, multifamily? How are we still protecting the riverfront? How are we supporting the downtown area with people that live there and can go and work in downtown? Or people that come in and maybe want to recreate in our downtown. Maybe there's an idea of having availability of more short-term rentals in some of those areas, that a little more density, so that they can, hey, my drive is just 5 minutes across the river and I get to stay there, but then I can walk or bike or go into downtown where they want to. Maybe they go to Fort Concho, maybe they go through the Paseo and, you know, see all the murals and the artwork. And it's really a cultural thing of how do we mix all of our cultures together, as well as public art and things that we can see right around the river for our visitors that come to town.
Is this going to address any of the abandoned and dilapidating buildings in those areas? I mean, you know, I know we're making such a push on downtown and really making it a destination, but then there's a lot of people that have sat on buildings and they really put a damper on what you guys are working towards.
Yeah, I think there will be. Certainly the South Tiers District is involved in that area. I don't think a lot of people know that, and this is going to be a way to reinforce that, hey, there's also this opportunity. But I think with Sherry's ideas of how do we make this more flexible for people to utilize some of those abandoned buildings, I think that makes a huge difference, of that it's not just, okay, well, that looks like a warehouse. It can only always be a warehouse. Well, maybe it could be something else and still work within that neighborhood. So, and Sherry, you got anything to add?
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to say was this is really an exciting concept, and it's fun to work through. And so any ideas that you might have, we would love to hear that as we keep moving through, because as I said, this is going to move fairly quickly.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. You know, the biggest thing I think with the tiers too is getting that information out to the public a little bit more than what it has been in the past. And also, and I haven't looked at the tiers program in a very long time, but I don't know if it addresses like asbestos abatement or anything like that. I know that's a big concern for a lot of people wanting to purchase, you know, some of these older buildings, is the cost of the abatement is so astronomical. It's almost unattainable for them to finish their idea or their concept. So.
Yes, and that has been listed as a high priority in the tiers, just like the sprinkler systems have been, and ADA accessibility, because I know that impacts folks as well. So those are listed as high priorities. And I think downtown San Angelo has done a great job. Monica Ramos and her team have done a great job this year. We've had 2 open cycles of the South Tiers District dollars. And so that's gone really, really well. We actually have potentially some dollars left, and so that board may be looking at opening a 3rd one or just adding in October. And so the valuations in that area have been going up, and that's important for the Tiers District to keep those dollars flowing back into the community.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think when you look at this area and think about just how it's developed, I mean, it's been like 140 years, right? That
Yeah.
it's kind of built out. And so there's been a lot of changes in the economy and everything else that's going on down there. And so there's obviously a mixed match of
Yes.
all kinds of different types of buildings and structures and ordinances that apply to all those buildings. And it is a part of our culture as a city and, our history. And so trying to put that in a way to where you kind of make it feasible for somebody to come in there and do something with those buildings is really, I'm glad to see that happening.
Yeah.
It's a way that we can try to revitalize some of the, more of that area down there and make it easier, just removing some of the subjectivity out of what, as a developer, you don't know really what you're getting into necessarily if you don't have a consistent ordinance or guidelines in place.
Yeah, we think it's really exciting.
Predictability is very important for our developers when they're looking at our town. What can they expect as rules and regulations, particularly in design regulations? And so that's a part of what we're looking at as well for the cultural district. And I'm so thankful for Sherry because she's got a great knowledge. She's done this in some other places, and she's looking at some other communities that have done really well that have rivers in their downtown. We have a magnificent river that comes through our downtown, and we have a great historic downtown and historic district. How can this help supplement that area and still be its own identity? That's what we're really excited about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Next item is
We may go ahead and take public comment on this
Okay.
one too.
Oh, okay.
On the discussion
Yeah,
items.
let's open up public comment on cultural district expansion.
Jamal Shumpert, single member, District Number 2. That was some great comments I heard about keeping the historic downtown and those buildings. But I got a little confused about whether or not, if you pass a new ordinance through the cultural district, will they be required to keep their building updated to that ordinance? Or will they be grandfathered in, basically? So that's my only concern, because it could kick them out of their building or force them to sell their building if they, couldn't keep up with the ordinance and kept getting fined. Thank you.
Thank you.
But it was great conversation about how to keep it and all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it would only be, Sherry, if the building was changing occupancy or usage, that it would have to be brought up to code, right? Does that answer your question, Jamal? Okay.
Any more public comment on that? So, this next, I'll close public comment on that topic and open up for Bentwood annexation.
So we have a petition request to annex my left, this area right here, going to city council for acceptance tomorrow. So I just wanted to make you aware, this side, the right side over here is their preliminary plat that was approved previously. It is all residential homes.
Are those zero lot, because that's right behind Riviera, and Riviera is a mix of zero lot and regular single family. So are these are from the prelim plat, larger lots by the looks of it?
So far, the zoning application that we received with it, they're asking for RS1.
Okay.
So you will be seeing that zoning
It's 22
request.
acres, okay.
So we just wanted to make you guys aware.
Ray, what is that square chunk in the bottom?
I was wondering that myself.
This one down here?
Mm-hmm.
I believe
Detention?
that is their detention pond, right?
I don't think
No?
that's their detention pond. I'm not 100% sure. I think when they did the preliminary plat, that was a future expansion of their clubhouse, possibly.
Oh, that's
But I'm not sure they fully determined. You can see that the area that they're annexing in is really just kind of the upper half of that.
Right.
And so as we get more clarification with the rezoning, as that will come forward to you and a final plat, we'll have more information upon that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Is there any public, if we take public comment on that? Yeah, is there any public comment on annexation? I'll go ahead and close public comment. And then open it up for, I guess, public comment in general. Is there anybody?
Jamal Shumpert, single member, District Number 2. I'm up here today because I watched San Antonio's council pass short-term ordinance, and in that short-term ordinance, they required the short-term rentals, Airbnb, Verbo, whoever it was, to remit the hotel taxes to them, to the state as well. So I was wondering if that would be easier for you guys. I understand that maybe Airbnb might not be the best actors in it. They might not remit the hotel taxes to y'all instead. I'm just waiting to see how that plays out with San Antonio. And another thing is, looking at it, you guys, man, last time I was here over a few years ago, I asked Mr. Stribling maybe to shake up the board and not have as many people in the same industry together. But when I look again, it's almost like everybody is in the same industry, which is real estate, which is why so much of our focus is on real estate instead of things like not granting variances for stormwater drains or for curbs and sidewalks, and not doing what is it called, drainage studies. A lot of this stuff hasn't been done in certain areas, and it's wreaking havoc on some of our citizens. But outside of that, I do want you guys to adopt on the outskirts. If a developer comes into town, I do want you guys to adopt an animal relocation fee, because our animal control, they're having not only dogs, but we got raccoons, possums, and everything entering in the neighborhoods now. So I think if they had some type of money, some type of revenue coming in, considering that y'all bring in a lot of revenue putting, taxes in, I would like to see that added to y'all's agenda to give to them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have done some research on looking into direct payment of hotel occupancy tax from VRB. I know that's something that Ray had worked on, so that's a great idea, and I think we're still trying to figure that part out. But that would certainly make it easier. So appreciate your comments. Is there anybody else has public comment today? It's up to you. You just state your name and address or single member district.
Sure thing. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Bradley. I live at 1433 Montague. It's in the Pauline subdivision, which I believe is District 4, zoned RS1. So before we even bought the house, we did some research, and we're like, hey, we're good. We got enough room if we wanted to get a carport later on, right? So we got, fortunately, at this point, a little bit of hail damage on our vehicles, and with the price of insurance and vehicles, we decided to go ahead, move forward. So I hired a contractor because we're trying to make this thing nice, do everything correct. He came out, he measured everything. He said, you guys are good to go. We're happy, we're waiting. Then it turns out about a month later, the permit was denied. So we couldn't quite figure out why. Like, it wasn't really clear. So I reached out, and everybody at the planning office was really helpful. I spoke with Ms. Truman, right? And what we found out is our measurements that we thought just applied to the whole city only apply to something called this open structure overlay zone. I don't know if that's something I'm sure you guys are familiar with that one. So what she had sent me was a picture, and it turns out that this overlay zone ends just kind of, I don't know if you can see it, but it ends just right to the south of us. And so we tried to figure out like what qualifies for you to be in an open structure zone or not. We can't find out. It's not fire related. It just seems to be whether it was amended or not. And so the contractor was under the impression that any variance request would just be flat out denied. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the impression that they have. So I guess my question is, you know, hopefully we don't want our vehicles destroyed, and a lot of people in the neighborhood are kind of the same idea. Is I don't know if we should try for a variance or if the zone could be, it looks like sometimes they can be amendments to the zone to maybe expand it. And I don't want to take too much of your time at this point, but that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. Is this possible? Is there a way forward? And that's it for me. So.
Aaron, you want to jump on that one? I know we had a discussion on that a few months ago, or a few meetings ago, and if you want to elaborate.
Well, the open structure overlay was created for those properties that was in a district that were older, that may have just had one garage or no garage, and we have seen over the years, I'd say in the last 20 years, that there has been a bigger desire of folks that even do have two-car garages to protect their vehicles because they're not using the garages as a typical garage. I'm not sure about this gentleman's, Mr. Bradley's property, if they even have a garage or not. What it is the zoning ordinance, and I'm assuming they're in RS1, sets a 25-foot front yard setback for any structure. And so any structure that has to be built on the property has to be at least 25 feet back. Well, usually the front of the house is at that 25-foot mark, and so if there's a garage entry there, you're putting a carport in front of that, then that encroaches into that 25-foot setback. The variance process, there's very specific criteria to meet to be considered for a variance, that you have to be very unique to be considered for the variance for it to go through. Otherwise, everyone else in RS1 or whatever zoning district would be able to be afforded the same variance. I think there is discussion to be had. Does the open structure overlay map make sense today? As you guys know, we did make a small expansion into an area just south of O.C. Fisher, just off of North, I guess that's maybe West 29th or Glenna, or it changes names in there
Yeah.
2 or 3 times in that neighborhood. That encompassed about 200 homes. We would be certainly happy to sit down with this gentleman and look at that and see, well, if we were doing an expansion into that area, are we getting mostly older homes that were built maybe 30, 40 years ago? And that makes a lot of sense. Do we just do an expansion in that area? Or do we have a bigger discussion and say, do we care anymore for open structures? Do we care about that 25-foot setback for open structures? Now, enclosed structures, that's different when you got walls and things, but open structures like a carport. And as we've all seen in the last, I would say 5 years even, we've had a higher incidence maybe of hailstorms and severe weather, and so maybe that's a consideration we need to look at. So I think the planning staff is open to that. We certainly want to have direction and good research and evidence of how to move forward properly, and whether that's we'll certainly maybe have some community discussions, and then decide, from city council to planning commission to, all right, is this something we want to move forward with? But we're happy to consider that. Again, our planning staff is not just looking for something to do, but we're happy to consider that, because if our citizens need those things, we're happy to look at that and see if that's something we should research and bring forward as an agenda item.
Sounds like it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially in that particular area, you do have some older homes, so I don't know exactly
Yes,
the
ma'am.
makeup of what's around Mr. Bradley's home, but it would be something I would think needs to be at least looked at, and whether we need that open criteria or not.
Right.
Yeah, anything south of Rick's was built like 50s, 60s, and a lot of the time either the garage was enclosed to another bedroom or
Right.
whatnot to accommodate. So I think that area definitely needs to be addressed.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's something we can start having staff do some research, looking at some areas in that, around there to see if that's an appropriate, because there may already be some non-conforming carports there, or maybe some carports that got built without permits, and so that's always a consideration for us to look at that and to say, all right, well, what makes sense?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that help you, Mr. Bradley?
That's perfect. I can answer some of your questions after.
okay, thank you, sir.
Is there any more public comment? So I'll close public comment and got planning director's report next.
The only thing I have is just a quick update. I had a great meeting with Mr. David Mazur, who's our board chair with the Design and Historic Review Commission. Him and I have talked about some of our criteria or our guidelines for particularly historic properties, but then how does that water down to River Corridor and potentially even the Cultural District, those areas. What I'm going to do on Thursday at our DHRC meeting is to request of Mr. Mazur to put together a small committee to start reviewing those guidelines so that they become a little more concrete. I always worry about, trying to remove some of the flexibility, but at the same time, I think there is a desire from our community to say, if this is truly a historic building, things should be put back properly, not just how somebody wants to put them back. And so I think we're going to go through that. We will give y'all updates as it goes through, but that is a project that staff is going to be taking on along with that board, working together and being in the public so that the public can have some input as well.
Thank you, Aaron. Follow-up and administrative issues, announcements and consideration of future agenda items. Next regular meeting of the Planning Commission is scheduled to begin Monday, July 15th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the East Mezzanine Meeting Room in City Hall at 72 West College Avenue. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Quick meeting.
Record time?
Yeah.